Hey guys, welcome back to the Daehan podcast. For the special guest today, it is one of my best childhood friends and best friends still to this day, Austin Ryan. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Daehan. I'm super excited to be a part of your journey, watching you grow, start this podcast. I'm proud of you, man, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, man. So I wanted to start off the podcast with this. We met in Richmond and we basically spent majority of our childhood there and your college years there. And then our group, our little posse, after graduation college, life really starts. And then we kind of departed and you went out all the way to California. Always been curious, how was the move to California and why?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I've kind of gotten that in the past before as well, and the question of why is, my Coral and I, we wanted something different after graduation, and we kind of figured, I don't have a child yet. I don't have, other obligations. Of course, it was hard to leave family, friends that I've had my entire life, but we've always wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world, and I just wanted something different. So we really just went for it, man. And where's a better place to start than California? It's a little extreme, a little across
Yeah.
the country. It was a long process. A lot of moving pieces had to come together. Obviously, we needed a job and income to help support that move. But all in all, man, it was an adventure that I would never change. I think it's helped shape who I am today. I had to mature quickly,
Yeah.
and really become a different person. So I'm excited, and I just think that for anybody out there, listening and thinking about it, obviously I wouldn't push anybody to do it if you're not ready. But I think getting out of your comfort zone, is important. It can help push you to, be the person that you want to be, or maybe you just want to start over new and find yourself. Um, and being in your hometown, I feel that you can kind of get stuck in a little rut or a routine of doing the same things, going the same places, seeing the same people. And when you're pushed out of that comfort zone, you really help develop, maybe who you want to be,
Right.
or at least be able to find yourself. And I mean, I know for yourself, even you, Daehan, you moved around a little bit. You're not in your hometown anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, what is your feedback? Do you think it helped shape, you know, what you're doing today?
I think that's 100% on the point. The more you kind of stay within your small circle that you grew up, which is great, you can always keep in contact with them. But the more you explore, the more you expand your body and the different places you want to go, and you never thought you would go. You learn a lot of things, you pick up on a lot of things, and you meet people all around the world, especially California. I mean, I'm sure you came across a lot of different people with the work you do now. I think you learn so much more about life. You talk to different people, which expands your mindset, your knowledge of the world, your perspective about the world. So I think it probably is the best things you can do, especially when you're younger, when you have less responsibilities, have no wife, no kids. Go explore the world. Obviously, there's a money factor to it, but if you are able to do so, I think it'd be the best thing for you to do, for you to grow, and then you can always make money later on. You can always get the dream job and whatever that may be. But I think all those experiences help you to be a better person, mature quicker, and just open your mindset to have a better one, quite frankly, and just learn from different sides of things, different how different people view it, their cultures, their customs, and just have a more mature perspective about the world. So I think everything you just said, I 100% agree on.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And one topic you brought up is, you can always, find the job down the road. You can always, settle down. We're still young. You can still put in your roots, and that's what I'm in the process of doing today. I moved to Northern California. Actually, ended up moving down to Southern California about a year later. Spent about 2 years there. And then I actually got married during COVID, and my wife and I are at the point where we want to be able to put in roots and buy a house and settle down. So we're actually in the process of relocating to Arizona, and be able to start a family one day and advance in our careers. And my wife's about to start a fourth grade classroom, which is really exciting for her. so that, they're, and we wouldn't be where we were at today. I would say 100% certainty if we didn't take those chances and create those experiences together, and really take on, the adventures that were ahead of us.
So you talked about maturing fast to almost becoming a new person. And what experiences moving to California, maybe transition to California, meeting different people, what key moments or things you did help you mature faster?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think in general, once you graduate, college, or even if you're getting out of high school, I think life hits you quick.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own stories, but life starts coming at you, and you have bills to pay. And once you start taking on those responsibilities, it's really sink or swim.
Yeah.
So moving across the country, having to make new friends, having to start a new career, going from college to a 9 to 5 is hard enough. I know enough people that can say going to sit at a desk or whatever you're doing for your job. Coming out of college, that's a big change. So I think that alone, helps shape who you are. I'll be the first person to say the first few months in California with a new job was not easy. There was points where I felt depressed or beaten down, but in the end, if you keep your head down, you keep working hard, surrounding yourself with the right people, I think that you can really put a stamp on what you're looking to do, and start reaching the goals that you have. It's not an easy path. No matter what situation you're in, everybody has their struggles. Everybody is has to put in the grind, but I think it's worth it in the end. And that's what I think. It's just life hits you and it's sink or swim. So you can morph to that, or stay in the path that you're on.
Yeah. So, what were some of the key things that you did to help overcome? Whether it's you're making new friends, it's a new job. I'm sure you're applying to a bunch of places. Like, how are you? What were some key things you did to be able to overcome those things? Especially since you and your wife now, you don't know anyone there. How were you able to overcome that?
Yeah, so that was a tough piece. So Coral and I, sat down, and especially with her career, she was able to surround herself being a teacher with other teachers and with people her age and her passions. And with my career today, I work from home. So it's not like I'm going to an office and meeting new people. So that was really tough for me. I get to travel the world, which is a really great experience, and get to meet my customers and build the bonds with them. But you still miss that friendships that you grew up on, and the surroundings and the roots and the families that you left behind. So for us, one big piece is we got online and found some co-ed sports leagues, playing sports through high school and college. That was something that I missed, having that drive. Even if it's co-ed basketball, it's always
Yeah.
nice to feel like you're playing for something and winning. And that was a really cool way to meet people. So anybody out there that's struggling, I know there's some really cool apps out there to meet some people, meet friends, meet people with similar passions.
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to do. So I joined a softball league, a volleyball league. We played basketball, and through that, we were able to meet some really cool people that had the same passion as us. And there's a lot of people out there that made the same jump. I found it so interesting. We played every Saturday. We went to Newport Beach and played volleyball, and we would always do a new pickup league. So we never played on the same league with the same people, because we always wanted to branch out. So as we made friends, we were like, hey, let's join a random team again. And we did
Yeah.
that over 6 or 7 leagues. So you met a lot of really cool people. But more importantly, I feel like there's a lot of individuals our age out there that would say the same thing. They're like, how do you make friends after college?
Yeah.
How do you make friends after high school? You're
Yeah.
not forced to be in the same class. You're not forced to be at the same spot. People have different interests. People have their friend groups, and a lot of the people just moved from all over the country, and they ended up joining the same leagues for the same reasons. So, I would just say that we're not alone out there for anybody that's kind of feeling the same struggles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that's dealing with the same kind of predicaments that I was in. How do you meet people what is this life after high school, after college? It's a big change.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You're a social butterfly, probably the biggest one that I know, and especially knowing you from high school to college. I mean, you're just life the party. And if you were feeling that way, I kind of struggle for other people who may not be as outgoing as you are. But was it pretty easy as you joined different sports leagues and different things like that? Were you able to talk to people pretty easily? Now, was that a pretty easy transition once you put yourself out there?
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I always tried to be, the center of attention, or meet as many people as I can. It was just always my personality. But I will say that, when I moved away and being in a different environment and having that feeling of being alone, I did struggle with putting myself out there. So even my personality, I feel for anybody that's, nervous to put themselves in an uncomfortable situation. But once I did immerse myself in the environment, as I mentioned, you just run into a lot of people you could tell that are shy and maybe don't want to be there. Maybe they
Yeah.
got dragged by their other friends. There's just a lot of people out there that you can relate with. And when you see that, in the end, we're all the same. We're all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Everybody our age is just trying to figure out who do they want to be, what do they want to do for a career, what do they want to do with their current friends? Do they want to meet new people? Maybe they just moved across and starting a new job. So once you start connecting with people on that level, I found that it was a lot easier just realizing that, we're all just trying to figure this out. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody has a perfect plan, whether your parents guided you in one direction or whether you fell off and you went your own way. Nobody has the perfect answers, and we're all just in this giant game, and we're all trying to figure it out. So once I think you start understanding that mindset, I think that really helped.
Yeah. You have to understand not everyone else is probably going through the same struggle, especially when you're in your same age group, whether it's the 25 after college transition. Everyone's going through the same thing. They're just wondering, okay, I got a new job. How do I make friends in the corporate world, or, the 9 to 5 typical job? How do I succeed, kind of go up the corporate ladder? And how do I make new friends if I move somewhere? So I think people may think that it's you're the only one that's going through it, but it's not really true. You need to just go out there and talk to different people, and share your struggles with the same person, and that's how you kind of connect. So when you moved out there, did you always want to do sales and marketing, that type of area of work that you do now?
Yeah, so yes and no. I knew from a young age that I always wanted to do some sort of sales. I knew that I was good at talking to people. And with that, I figured it would be an easy path for myself. I wanted to travel, I wanted to talk to people, and I wanted to sell a product. So I knew that I wanted to do those. But what I didn't know is what field I wanted to be in, what path I wanted to take. Because I'm sure everybody's aware that there's a lot of different sales out there, whether it's sales and marketing, selling an actual product, selling a service, in almost any career, there's some sort of selling. So figuring out that path was the more challenging route. So after college, with a lot of hard work, I was able to land a job with Johnson and Johnson selling medical device equipment. And when I was in this field, a lot of individuals, would come to me and say, you kind of have the dream job of what a lot of people out there want to do. You're with a great company selling medical device. That's where the money's at. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
But being in that environment, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was a lot of hours in the operating room. It was Monday through Sunday. The grind didn't stop, which is great. But, I wanted something different.
Yeah.
I didn't get to build those connections. I didn't get to advance my career. And I wanted to be able to build relationships. And in that field, of course, there's going to be new sales, but a lot of it is you work with the same doctors who are comfortable with your parts.
Yeah.
And that's what you do every day. So I ended up leaving Johnson and Johnson and moving to the path that I took today. So I'm still in the medical field, but I am selling medical software instead.
Mhm.
But what's really cool about the position that I'm in today is we don't do any cold calling per se. So we're not reaching out to random hospitals and asking if they want to use our product. So in the field that we're in today with mammography, everybody needs to track their patients. They need to report and they need to send out documentations to women's when they come in and receive a mammogram. So they need to be able to know what their results are. So hospitals need our services, and it's a really cool position to be able to sell a product that you believe in and that people need. So you're not going to door and selling, vacuums to somebody that already has one.
Yeah.
People get to come to us, and then you get to listen to what their concerns are. And I think that's so important in sales. And what I've learned to be able to advance my career is somebody who needs a product. The reason that they need it is the real question. What are your struggles today? What do you hope that our product can do? So a lot of individuals ask, is it the opening line that gets you in the door?
Yeah.
Do you have a closing line that you always go to? And the answer is no. I try to take a untraditional sales approach, and I found it to be extremely successful. Is I want to build the relationship first, because I 100% believe that somebody wants to buy something from somebody that they trust. So I want to be able to build those relationships with my customers. And then I want to find out, why are you even in the market? What are your struggles today? And once you get that feedback, then you can build out a script of something that fits their needs. So again, I never want to get off the path of trying to sell something that they don't want, trying to sell an item that they don't need, trying to not improve their day-to-day work. There's enough people out there that are struggling in their field that they need help. And I want to be able to be the person that can provide that service to them. And my advice to anybody out there that wants to get into sales or is struggling in sales, try to take a step back, try to break away from the typical, here's the script that I'm reading off of, and try to listen. Being a good sales rep to me is somebody that can listen and adapt.
Yeah.
Listen to the concerns, listen to what they're telling you, and then feed them back what they're looking for.
So that's really good advice. And I think that's like almost a life advice. You do that with other people, your friends, your family members, the relationship with them that improves because you're listening to different people, you're listening to what they need, and you're able to provide whatever that service they may need. I'm wondering, this type of wisdom, this type of knowledge, how were you able to accumulate it? I'm sure it wasn't, day one, you already had this sort of knowledge and you were able to implement it very quickly. But I'm sure there was some sort of learning curve, some sort of learning experience that helped you to kind of cultivate the sales and marketing type of knowledge that you have now. So what were some key things that you experienced to help you to get that knowledge?
No, that's a really great question, and a little bit of that is trial and error. I also had some really good mentors. I will kind of shout out my dad. I got to grow up watching him
Yes,
build relationships
yeah.
and be able to pass that knowledge down to myself. Both of my parents, for my entire life, have always been about giving back to people around us, listening to their concerns and being there for them. And then to take that a step further, I also completed an internship when I was in college, which was door-to-door sales. And if anybody that has been in door-to-door sales, you understand that it's not an easy path and you really get your teeth punched in. So I think that was a really hard but really rewarding
Yeah.
month that I was going door to door to these individuals and these businesses and being shut down. You start learning quickly that, okay, I need something to tell these people that I don't get the door slammed in my face.
Yeah.
I need to be able to connect with these people quickly, or they're never going to listen to what you have to say.
Right.
So I think taking, the role models that I had in my life, and then, the experiences that I've had, I just learned quickly that, again, people are just looking for, an answer to their problems. They're looking to make, their world and their life easier. Everybody's got their own struggles. And
Yeah.
if you can save somebody time, if you can save somebody money, if you can save somebody, just the effort that they're putting in on a day-to-day basis, that's what's important. And again, the big question is, what is that? And as soon as you can figure it out, as soon as you can build that relationship, it gets a lot easier.
So I always been fascinated and at all and admire those people who do door-to-door sales or cold calling because I don't think it's an easy job at all. And I heard some horror stories of people how they get treated and what kind of life it is on a daily basis where you have to go to different people's door and try to sell and connect, like you say, on a very quick basis. It's almost 20, 15 seconds space where you have to connect so you don't have the door slammed on you. So with while you were doing door to door or cold calling in your experience, what were some like key lessons you learned and some horror stories that you can share with us?
Man, that's a good question, and some horror stories. One that I'll never forget. It was, one of my first days.
Oh boy.
I knocked on this door, and we switched between door to door houses and door to door businesses.
Yeah.
So this day, I was actually going to a business. I walked in, and before I could get out, a few questions, the lady stood up and she told me, why don't you go out and get a real job?
Oh
And
boy.
slammed the door behind me. And I'll
Wow.
never forget that because it really kind of kicked me in the chin. It starts making you question, like, is this not a real job? It makes you
Yeah.
start thinking about, man, maybe she's right. But it's also those experiences where, they say, you're going to knock on 100 doors or 200 doors, and then you finally get the yes, and you
Yeah.
finally get the sale, and that's what makes it worth it. And it's so true. And I think that can relate to life in general. You're going to get knocked down over and over and over again, but those small, those small yeses or those small accomplishments can really take you a far away, and you can ride that wave. For example, I said I was just buying a house.
Mhm.
Well, my wife and I, we tried 5 times to buy different houses that we loved, and we got told no on all of them. Finally,
Wow.
on the sixth, our offer was accepted. It's a really competitive market out here in Arizona. People were waiving appraisals and inspections and offering way above asking. We just couldn't compete with some of that.
Right.
So finally, we got that, six yes, and those feelings in life are, what I start to live for.
Mhm.
So my advice, my experiences is, as you're getting kicked in the teeth, as you're getting told no, keep pushing because that yes is coming and it's worth it. And
Mhm.
then why ride that wave?
I think a lot of people who start out, especially after college, they will probably get into that sales marketing job and they might have to do some sort of cold calling, some sort of cold, just kind of go into a new market and just ask people to buy a product. And I'm sure more often than not, you're going to get no's. And that's very hard to overcome. It's hard to take on your psyche. So, or were there anything that you had to tell yourself or mentally kind of prepare yourself, whether you go out each day and a brand new door could be a yes or no, but majority of it could be no. And how are you able to overcome the no's? Whether there's some meditation or some sort of practice you did where you were able to overcome that and not take it personally?
There's a few things that actually I started doing. So first is I started listening to podcasts. That's part of the reason I'm so excited I'm on today. There's a lot of really cool podcasts out there. And I don't listen to, just one person, but I listen to, I'll just type in, sales advice,
Yeah.
and listen to different podcasts. And there's a lot of really cool people out there that have a lot of experience and they can kind of pump you up in the morning,
Yeah.
and get you excited. The other thing that I did, and maybe not everybody has this opportunity, but on top of the going door to door, we also did cold calling via the phones.
Yeah.
So maybe I went to a door and you got what I would call like a warm lead, somebody that was at least friendly and maybe interested in the product you were selling. So I would start my mornings on the phone
Mm,
and reach out to those easier quote unquote leads that I had to be
yeah.
able to build up your confidence. Maybe you start with, even if they don't purchase your product or you still get told no in the end, having those relationships with those individuals that are at least open to talking, building up your confidence, because starting fresh in the morning isn't easy.
Yeah.
So being able to reach out to those people and build, good connections and have a good conversation early in the morning was
Yeah.
important to me. And then I would go door to door and in between, driving to these different places, adding in the podcasts, adding, even just good music that you like to listen to,
Yeah.
not getting too down on yourself. I never wanted to, I have, my ADHD brain, I can't sit in the car just in silence and you start thinking about, what am I going to say? And what if
Yeah.
they say this? And of course, those are good, but, just not overthinking it.
Yeah.
Sales in general, everybody's out there doing it. Everybody's going to hear no, you're not alone. Just being able to surround yourself with positive energy, positive vibes, and that really relays off to the people you're talking to as well. If you go into a building or you call somebody on the phone and you're not friendly or you're not in a good mood or you're beaten down, that's going to reflect as well. But if you can go on with a smile on your face and try to be as charming as possible, they're more out to talk to you. So, it's really just the attitude. And I'm sure everybody has different ways that they can relax or, they can meditate or they can, listen to podcasts or music. There's a lot of things out there. And, my advice is just find out what works for you.
Yeah, I'm sure the last thing you want to do is wake up and just get a no, hour later,
Right.
just keep on waking up and no's, no's, no's. But as you progress, and especially pretty rapidly, in my opinion, I mean, you're about to turn 27, right? And you're in a position where you're managing the West Coast for your company in terms of sales and things like that, sort of accumulating all that experience impact you in your life as well, whether it's, whether from your sales and marketing and the way you communicate with people and the little tips and lessons you learned, how did that translate over to your life as well?
A really great question. And, I think that, I just built a really hard work ethic. I found a job that I'm passionate about and I wanted to be successful and I wanted to give back to the company that I'm in today. So I feel like I took the extra steps to get to where I'm at today. So for example, we had a demo script and we had products that we would do. So one thing that I did is I would actually record myself giving a demonstration to nobody. I would
Mm,
just go over my script. I would practice what I was working on, and then I would play it back in the car. I would play it back before I went to bed at night. And I had a book that I printed out of all of our scripts, and I would read it once before I went to bed as well, because I wanted to be as knowledgeable as possible. So
yeah.
building that hardworking attitude and being transitioning into real life and becoming, an adult and taking on these responsibilities. And I feel like I took that on in, my marriage now. I wanted to be the best husband that I could be. I wanted to be the best friend that I could be. And
Yeah.
there's still areas that I need to grow, but more importantly, I just wanted to be able to take in the information around me, be able to give back to people, be able to give back to my wife, be able to give back to hopefully kids one day and build a foundation. So I think just, working hard from graduating college and moving across the country and, putting in that work ethic and bouncing around jobs and finding out what I wanted to do to be able to put myself in a situation that, at least makes me happy
Yeah.
is something that was so important to me. And some, advice that I would give to anybody, if you're not happy doing what you're doing today, I would
Yeah.
never say just, quit. Everybody has their bills.
Yeah.
Find out what works for you. I went through several different internships. I did bounce around jobs some before I, got into my careers, but I wanted to do something that when you wake up in the morning on a Monday morning and it's 7 o'clock in the morning and you have to put on your outfit that
Yeah.
you don't hate what you're doing. I think it's hard to not enjoy life. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing for 40, 50, 60 hours during the week, that's going to relay on your friends and your relationships and your
Yeah.
own mental strength and mental wellness. It's in the long run, of course, everybody, you need the money to live. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
I was with an amazing, company with Johnson and Johnson. I had a lot of individuals come to me and say, never quit, stay with it. That's where all the
Really?
money is. That's the dream job for a lot of people.
Wow.
And I walked away from it. And in the end, that wasn't an easy decision, but I love what I'm doing today and I'm much happier and I'm just in a better place because of it.
So that's pretty remarkable to hear. People telling you, hey, this is the dream job. Stay with it and you will get compensated. But internally, you knew you were not happy. You felt it every day. I'm sure all the people saw that within you. So when everyone is telling you you have a great job, oh, I wish I had your life, I wish I had your career, I wish I had your job and your money, how do you take the plunge, the jump to say, no, I really don't like this? I know that. Two, how do you take a step to leaving that job to taking another one? How do you, I mean, because I'm sure that's a very scary thing because when your life is some sort of good, right? I'm sure you have decent money coming in. How do you take that plunge to say, maybe I need to go do something else and I need to take action? And maybe the next job I take into whatever I want to do may not pay me as much as I'm getting now, but how do I get the courage to do so?
I will tell you right now, it was a scary plunge.
Yeah.
I felt comfortable, and when I was in college and graduating, medical device, Johnson and Johnson, that's what I always wanted. So I
Really?
chased after it, and I got it.
Wow.
I was at where I thought I wanted to be. I had what
Wow.
I thought my dreams were. And in reality, if you asked me senior in college what you wanted to do, if I could have told myself, hey, this is the job that you're going to have,
Yeah.
that would have been a dream come true. So
Wow.
when I say that it wasn't an easy plunge leaving,
Yeah.
it really wasn't. And on top of it, having the family, friends, hyping you up
Yeah.
behind it and telling you, this is it. Like, you did it.
Yeah.
Taking that into consideration was even harder. But after spending 6 months working, and again, like I said, I was also going through the moving across the country, losing family, losing
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
And I was really in a kind of depressed state.
Yeah.
I felt it wearing on myself, wearing on my friendships, wearing on my relationship, and I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing. And in the end, what kind of sent me, over the edge was, I remember we were coming up on Christmas, and it had just been, Halloween. And, I didn't get to come home and experience, passing out candy to little kids.
Yeah.
And then we were coming up on Christmas, and the individuals I were working with was saying, I haven't spent Christmas with my family in the last 10 years. They were missing their kids' birthdays. They didn't seem happy, whether they were making, four, five, $600,000 a year. They just didn't seem like they enjoyed what they were doing. And they had only been in the field for, 5 and 10 years. So to take in that information, I didn't want to get stuck. I didn't, it wasn't about the money to me. Taking a step back financially was more important to me in getting my happiness back.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I always wanted to be a social butterfly. I wanted to be, a morning person. I wanted to go to the parties and see the people and
And you
talk to
did.
everybody. That was my personality. And I tell you what, Daehan, if you had seen me, 2 months into that job, 3 months into that job, you probably wouldn't have recognized me.
Really?
I was tired. I didn't feel like talking to anybody. I lost, relationships over it. I
Wow.
just wasn't happy with myself. And one day I woke up and decided, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just didn't like who I was in the mirror. I didn't like what I was becoming. And whether maybe it would have turned around in the end, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the bigger question is, what am I doing today and how do I feel? And I'm happy, and I'm back to how I was, and I'm back to who I want to be. So taking the plunge wasn't easy. And I went back and forth, and I, reached out to my parents and you know, my family and my friends. And, I got that advice. And in the end, you're the only person that can make your decision. You're the only person that can write your story. Everybody's going to have advice for you, no matter what it is, whether it's your job, your relationship. Everybody's going to tell you what's best for you. And in the end, you're the only person that can answer that question. So I made the decision to step away and try something different. And I couldn't be happier with where I'm at, the company that I'm at, and the advancements that I've been able to make.
Wow. I mean, I knew that you weren't happy, but to hear the real honest truth, like to how deep you went of unfulfillment, unhappiness, because I know how you are on a day-to-day basis. You're always up and about, bright, complimenting people, just doing everything you can to make the other person's day. And that's kind of your focus are. And to hear that you didn't want to talk to anybody, to hear that kind of struggle, unhappiness for you, especially the social butterfly that you are, I'm sure that was a pretty bad position to be in, and to understand, okay, I got to leave, I got to do something else. Now, to that transition, did you actively look for positions? How did you how was your transition from one job to another? Or was there a gap in between there?
So I went from that position, and I was in the process of interviewing for another job that actually reached out to me in the career that I'm at today. So they reached out to me on LinkedIn. So it was really good timing, but it was a longer interview process, and I had to go through the extra steps.
Yeah.
So I actually, when I left Johnson and Johnson, I picked up a short time waiter position at Long House Steak, steakhouse, and I worked there for about 2 months. So not a long period, and
Yeah.
of course, I never recommend leaving a job immediately, but I
Yeah.
had bigger things on my horizon, and I needed some kind of income because just because my career, I walked away doesn't mean my bills stopped.
Yeah.
So I ended up picking up little side jobs and making it work, and then starting the career that I'm in today. But yeah, so they actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I was in the process of interviewing or applying to other jobs as well.
Yeah.
But it just happens to work out that they reached out to me. But I think that anybody out there that's looking, if you're not happy, or if you were in the same situation of myself, or that's how you're feeling, it never hurts to put out feelers. There is no harm in applying or hearing somebody out. Maybe somebody reached out to you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Maybe you put out some feelers on Indeed or all the other social platforms that we have today.
Right.
Taking a 5-10 minute call about hearing what else is out there, whether you do it or not, I think is important. And that's what I did. I talked with the hiring manager of my job that I'm at today, and I fell in love with him and what he was doing and his environment and what he's put himself into and the advancement that he's made and the company itself. And after doing some research, I knew that that was something I wanted to chase after, and ultimately, it worked out. And I think no matter what, it always will, as
Yeah.
long as you keep hustling, as long as you keep grinding, and you stay positive. In the end, it will work out. It may not feel like it today,
Mhm.
it may not be easy, but as long as you keep trying and you keep the effort, good things will come eventually.
Wow. You went to a great job at Johnson Johnson. I'm sure you're getting paid pretty handsomely, to being a waiter. I mean, come on. Were you not scared? Like, I mean, especially in California, I'm sure your bills are just stacked. But to leave that job, I know you were applying for different jobs in the process of interviewing, but that's not a guarantee that you'll get it. So, how was it for you mentally, maybe physically as well, going from Johnson and Johnson to a waiter? Which there's nothing wrong with that, but financially, I'm sure there's a huge gap there. Were you ever stressed? Like, how were you able to manage all that, the uncertainty of it all? How were you able to overcome that?
Yeah, so I was definitely out. I mean, I'll be the first to admit I was a little terrified. It's a, I mean, it's a big, change. It's a big step backwards. But I'll let you know that leaving the current position I was in was almost an immediate relief.
Wow.
I felt the weight lifted off of my shoulders. It's kind of like the buying the house process. And I know you just went through it. Once you sign on that dotted line,
Yeah.
you just get a relief and an
Yeah.
achievement. And, you do that over and over in life. And I feel like I knew immediately that I had made the right decision. Like I said, it wasn't easy, and it took a long time to make that jump. Once I did, I felt like no matter what, I was going to be in a better position. And, I trusted, God would put me in the right path. I knew I had my friends and family to fall on if I needed. I had Coral in my life, who was a great supporter and was with me through that, hardship. But in the end, I just knew that, faith would, guide me in the right direction, and it would all work out. Did I know that? No. Is there a chance that it could have taken longer? Of course. But at the same time, like you said, I was interviewing in other places, and I was confident in my abilities that I could bring another company. I was confident in my experience, and I was confident enough in my interviewing ability that I would find something. So it was really just a matter of, how long would that take? And I knew that, a few months of, maybe not going out to eat as often is worth it when in the end you're happier and, better things are coming.
I can't even imagine the uncertainty, the stress. 'Cause you're married at that point. You have to. It's not just you taking care of yourself. Sure, you can eat less, you can go out less, and all those things, but you have to take care of your significant other too. So I'm sure that was on your concern, especially being the good husband that you are. Man, I just can't even fathom the mental jump to go out and leave a job to be waitering and have the uncertainty of it all. So, but now that you're in a great position you are now, and now it's all hunky dory, now you're living life, you're enjoying it and loving it. How were there any hiccups in your new job, or was it a great kind of start to it? Was it an awesome, oh, now I feel like I'm at the right place now?
Yeah. So, honestly, I felt like I was in the right place.
Oh,
From day one. Actually, my first day, I was at a conference, and it's a smaller company, but I was able to meet, most of the individuals that I work with today.
mhm.
And the environment and the personalities that everybody has, and the product that we're selling, it it just felt right. Of course, it was a learning curve. Selling medical software is complex. I
Yeah.
didn't have an IT background. There was a lot that I needed to learn. So it was a slow process. And I needed to spend a lot of extra hours, researching and trying to learn the product that I wasn't familiar with and I wasn't comfortable with. But in the end, I knew from day one that I made a good decision. I didn't know that I was going to love it as much as I do today, but I knew that I was in a good company that I could grow with and that I would be happy with. And in the end, it worked out. Like I couldn't be, more ecstatic of the guy that I work for, the company that I'm with, and the coworkers that I get to, share this experience with.
Man, I just love hearing that from just going from your lows to the high. Now you just love the position that you're in and the social butterfly that you are. You're traveling a lot now. You're meeting, you're going places and meeting different people. So, what are some of the coolest places you've been and some of the coolest things you've done while on your work trips?
Yeah, no, that's been a really exciting piece to this job is building those relationships and being able to travel the country. So my territory is really from Colorado over. I also cover Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii.
Wow.
So of course, uh, some of the coolest places I've been to is I got to experience Alaska and I got to go to Hawaii to visit customers out there. And that's been such a neat experience, and I think has really opened up my eyes to different cultures, different individuals that I've met, just the way that hospitals work, or being able to travel at such a young age, being able to learn how to rent a car, how to book all of your flights and
Yeah.
hotels and schedule meetings, and maybe I'm going to this hospital and then driving a few hours and going to another hospital in a state that I've never been at before. So going through those experiences were a learning curve, but also super exciting. But I think the coolest places I have been, it's definitely Hawaii and Alaska. And I think Alaska kind of took the top spot. Just being able to see the environment and, the rushing, I would call it icebergs flowing by you, and it was snowing, and being able to experience that was just breathtaking.
Yeah.
There's a few places out there that really, just kind of take your breath away and that are just amazing at just how amazing this country and world is.
Yeah.
There's some really cool places out there. And yeah, it's been a cool experience.
So, with the opportunity to travel and meet different people, and I'm sure you, like you mentioned, you learn a lot of different things, and especially with the background that you have, sales and marketing, I always can tell who someone who is in the sales and marketing career field because the way they interact with people in general, not just outside of work, it's just different. They know how to talk to people very well. They know how to make the other person feel at ease. I mean, and those are very important social skills to have. If you could give only three advice about sales, negotiating, and marketing, that kind of wrapped into one, what would be those three advices be, especially with negotiating, especially because, for example, buying a house, right? I'm sure that took some negotiating. What are some tips and tools that you would like to recommend your average Joe could benefit from?
Yeah, I think you talk about negotiating, I think the biggest tip that I can give is don't be afraid to talk about what we would consider, awkward when it comes to house buying, when it comes to selling a product, when it comes to negotiating, even a car that everybody, is going through these different steps. Don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. In my line of work, a lot of people are afraid of asking, what is your budget?
Yeah.
What do you have approved as of today? What can you financially make work for you? Not playing the guessing game of back and forth and back and forth. When we were going through the housing market and looking at buying a house, working with the sellers and their agents of, what are you looking to get? And again, going back to just listening to people, I think that just is so important, whether it's in your work, whether it's in your job, whether it's in just the real world, just listening to what people have to say, spending less time being the, outgoing talker and leading the charge, and more time, adapting to your environment and taking in what people are doing around you, and then being able to add to their perspective, add to their conversation, and being able to join in. I think that's my two biggest advice is, everybody's trying to figure it out. I keep saying that, but it's so true.
Hmm.
Is, everybody has their own struggles. Everybody feels awkward. Everybody is afraid of putting themselves out there. But when you can initiate that
Yeah.
and you can be the one to start it, you make everybody feel more comfortable. You're in a negotiation. If there's some questions that you can tell you're avoiding and they're avoiding,
Yeah.
it's not easy, but be the one to do it.
Yeah.
Bring it up because you bring somebody at ease.
So how do you go about doing that in a way that's like kind of charismatic, funny, at ease, puts the tension at ease, especially when you're negotiating? It could be tense, right? It could be like
Sure.
they have a wall up, you have a wall up. But how do you come together? How do you break down those walls and come together to a agreement that both people walk away from happy?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really, probably hard question
Yeah.
to answer to make sure that, both parties are happy. Ultimately, somebody probably comes out on top, but maybe you can make it even. But my biggest piece that I try to do in, my job is, make it almost a little bit, I don't want to say comical, but lighten the mood.
Yeah.
So when we bring up negotiation, if we hand you, a quote before I just send that over to somebody, I always want to make sure that I'm talking to the right individuals. And when you're in that negotiation, being able to say things like, "Hey, look, I know that we're probably going to go back and forth, but I just want to know, what is your ballpark? It'd make it a lot easier if I know what you guys have to work with and what you're approved for today That way, when I go to our VP of sales, I at least have somewhere that I can start with. And then if you want to go back and forth, that's totally fine. But it would be really helpful, if we could just cut that out. I want to be as honest with you as possible. I want you to trust me. I'm going to go to bat for you.
Yeah.
Lighting the mood and letting somebody know, like, hey, you can trust me. I'm not just your average sales rep. I'm not trying to, look out for myself only. I want, and I truly do, I want to only sell you something if it benefits you, it makes your job easier. And the bottom line, that's what's going to have you calling me back to be able to sell something else.
Right.
So in the end, building that relationship first allows you to have those awkward conversations, and allows you to build that relationship moving forward.
I felt like I was in a sales pitch, and dude, just take my money. Whatever you're selling me, I want to buy. So I always wanted to ask you this, and I don't think I ever asked you. You still are the social butterfly of our group, and you were always that guy in the group in college and high school where the right thing at the right time, some lucky lady was there. It just worked out for you every time. And I don't know if it was your social skills or what have you, but you were always just that guy, the life of the party. Everyone loved you. And especially with all the experience you had in college, it's a lot of fun. But now that you're a married commitment, how are you able to transition? Because I think a lot of girls and guys struggle with that. Leaving college and settling down, that process of now you're committed, now you're in that kind of relationship. How do you transition, especially for you? So how are you able to just kind of settle down and start a new chapter in your life that way?
I'll be the first to say that it wasn't an easy path to
Yeah.
take. It's a big change, and I know a lot of people out there that commitment is scary. For I would say majority of people in high school and college, maybe you had your relationships, and they could have been long and years long, and you could have those relationships, but in the end, a lot of it was either flings or bouncing around with different groups in the parties and the environments. So to be able to walk away from that, go to a career, I'm married now, that transition definitely was a learning curve. But I will say, and it may sound a little cheesy, but when you run into the right person, the
No, I'm
right
just kidding.
opportunities, it makes it a lot easier. Whether anybody noticed or not, I was always kind of a hopeful romantic. I wanted to settle down. I like the idea of it always growing up. I wanted the quote unquote picket fence in the family one day. But in the end, I think it's about finding the right person that pushes you and can help you make those decisions and those changes in your life. And I think everybody eventually will be able to find the right person. And I truly believe there's somebody out there for everybody that can just push you out of your comfort zone, that makes you want to stay in on a Friday night instead of going to the bar. Or maybe they're out there with you, you do you. But I think that, just surrounding yourself with the right people can go a far way, whether it's relationships or just friendships. Surrounding yourself with the people that fit what you're looking for at that time can help you transition into different parts of your life.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I believe when you say you're a hopeless romantic, but the actions I saw. But anyways, but that's pretty remarkable and something I very much admired about you, especially because we're boys. I honestly thought you're gonna be the last people to go in terms of marriage, but you were the first one to go. I think in our group, which I'm sure it shocked a lot of people, and to see how you matured so fast and you are in this lovey-dovey really. I mean, you guys are married, but you guys are just always the same couple that you guys are even before you guys are married. So it's just good to see that. And I think maybe not a lot of guys in our group will say it. It definitely helps us because we see, oh wow, he's still doing well. He's still the same Austin even after marriage, and we have that connotation of marriage, you're getting kind of locked down, not a lot of having freedom, but you guys seem to be doing awesome, kicking it still. It's being the same young couple, vibrant you guys are. So it's just very good to see and very hopeful for me, because I mean, eventually I'll have to make a transition, hopefully sooner than later. But it's really good to see that. And I learned a lot from you in that too.
Well, hey, I definitely appreciate that. And, when you said that, a lot of the group or a lot of people around us may have been surprised, if you told even myself, back in college that I would be, married within the next, 5 years, I probably would have laughed in your face and left.
Absolutely.
But in the end, like I said, we're all growing up, we're all trying to figure it out, and just having a good group of people around you, that support system, it just goes a long way, man, for sure.
Yeah. So now that you're moving to Arizona, you're moving again. You got to transition again. So do you think this time it'll be easier? Obviously, you never know about the future, but is it how will the California experience transitioning all across away from Richmond to California now to Arizona? How will that help you to settle down and settle your roots into Arizona?
I think that it will help. I'm excited for the next chapter. And with bouncing around, like I said, from Northern California to Southern California, now to Arizona, I feel like we have a little bit of a better backbone. It's less of figuring it out and more of, okay, we've been here, we've been uncomfortable before, we've already, gone through this transition. We need to obviously start the process of making new friends and putting in our roots, but we're excited. I'm excited for the next step in our chapter in our life. And I think that transition is one that, I'm looking forward to. I'm ready to, you know, sign on the dotted line, to move into our new home, to put in roots, and really stay in one place for a while. I feel like I got to experience, the world, and who I wanted to be and who I hope to be one day. And I feel like I'm at the point where I'm excited for the next chapter. And, like you said, you never know. I don't know what's in front of us. I don't know what's in front of me, and, the opportunities that will come and the hardship, because I know there will be some and there'll be difficulties. But definitely, taking those chances while you're young, while you don't have the obligations. Again, I would recommend it to anybody who's thinking about it. If you have the means to be able to, take the chances. Why not? In the end, I think can be a real blessing.
So when you were looking for homes, I know you tried five to what you got it on the sixth. What were some factors or key attributes you were looking for in a house that were must? Like I need to have this.
That's a good question. So I think the most important piece to us was, I always wanted to be an entertainer, have people over. So to me, having a
There you go.
large
There you
living
go, Bill.
room,
There you
kitchen,
go.
yeah, I see. I told you I'm back. Having, a backyard for entertaining and a house for entertaining was important to us, and that was the biggest thing we were looking at, is an open floor plan that we can, today have people over and have those, those gatherings. And at the same time, we've talked about kids in the future. We've
Right.
talked about settling down, and I wanted something that we can grow into, a place that, we can call home, that was in a good location. It's funny when you start getting older, you start thinking about things that, maybe you never thought you would ever be thinking about, like school districts and, locations. And, there's a park next to this place, and, that's great for dogs today and maybe kids one day. And,
Yeah.
those things, add up. So we had a list of things we were looking for, and, I'm excited to say I think we checked most of those off.
Mhm. So, what does your backyard look like? What's the floor plan look like? Where it's like, oh, this is perfect for this type of party. This is perfect for this type of gathering. So, what's exciting about the house?
So backyard is just really giant and open and flat. So we're going to be making some renovations. We talked about adding in a pool. We were originally looking for a pool, but it didn't have one. But so we were talking about adding that, but it's just a really large, flat, open area that we could do a lot with. And then the open floor plan, majority of the square footage really is that living room, kitchen, family room area. And then the bedrooms are all kind of pushed off into the back. So the room that, people are going to be spending in, I think really catches your eye. And we're excited to, move in and really, make it our own. And there's some advancements and some things that we want to already do to the house, and I'm not sure that will ever end. I know you're going through the same process of
Yeah.
renovations and making it your own and adding that stamp, but we're excited.
So I heard from other parents and people who've been through this, been here, done that. They're like, when you start renovating, it never stops. You think it's gonna stop. You think, oh, I'm gonna stop it there. That's the last project. But you always find something to renovate, and that journey never stops. And what you highlighted, I think, is pretty profound. When you're younger, you don't really think about school districts, parks, and things like that. But then as you get older, it always seems that it's not about what you want, sort of. It's about for other people. So you're starting a family now. You need a good school district. You need a safe neighborhood. Stuff that you weren't even thinking about, like a park for your dogs. All these factors in which you found or looking for a home with for, it was always for different people's needs, or four-legged people's needs. So it's pretty profound to hear that as you transition, your needs in terms of what you buy, what you acquire, it changes as you get older.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. And my even my own personality, a lot of what makes me happy today is watching other people get enjoyment from what have you. Maybe we have people over and they have a good time, or if Coral is excited over something that we get for her, that brings myself enjoyment. And that that has really shaped in the my personality. And you start thinking about other people, and it's a really cool feeling. So for example, you said safety. I travel a lot for work.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to have to worry about us being in a bad neighborhood and Coral being home alone.
Yeah.
So, that those are the things that we wanted to check off and were important to, us, but more importantly, important to me. I want to be able to provide for, myself and my family and, my friends, and be able to make a place that, works for everybody. And,
Yeah.
I think everybody eventually, goes through, this sort of the same transition, as you grow up and, find what's important to you.
Yeah. So as are you when are you gonna come out to the East Coast next, man?
Oh man, that's a good question. So I will probably be out by the end of the year. I'm gonna plan
Oh,
something.
oh, good, good. That's great. That's a lot of certainty there.
Right, right. Yeah, no planned trip yet, but I'm hoping to. There's some things that we want to visit and see and get back to Coral's family in Virginia, and
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, so we'll plan something.
Yeah. We still communicate, as a group, and we still connect with our inner kind of group that we kind of grew up with. What is your hope? I know when we were at Mitch's Lake House, we talked about getting together each year, whether we rent out a nice lake house or beach house, what have you. We meet annually, or we like buy a timeshare, and we get in together. So we have another reason to get together every year. So, what is your hope later on as we get older, and hopefully get to a point where we don't have to work that week, and we can take off our day or week or weekend to get together with the boys and just have a good time? So, what is your hope that we in the near future that we're able to do more of?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you really nailed it. I hope that our group can stay connected. And it's funny when you grow up and you get older, you realize that everybody has things going on. It's impossible to stay connected every day as you did in high school or you did in college. Everybody has careers and relationships and furry friends and children, and
Yeah,
everybody else has a life. that they're living. So it's just impossible to stay connected, every day and see each other every day, whether you live close or you live far apart.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to maintain those relationships and be able to come together. We saw it when we went to the lake that it seems like everybody can come together and pick up right where you left off, and I think that's so important.
That's true.
And it for me, it's a great feeling being able to watch everybody on social media or be able to connect and watch everybody grow up and see what everybody is achieving and what makes them happy. As I mentioned, I'm proud of you for taking the steps that you've taken, and that goes for our entire group. Everybody has something that I'm proud of, and that is my hope. Obviously COVID slowed us down a little bit,
Mhm.
but I'm hoping that we can still come together at least once a year, and be able to pick off like we were never apart, to be able to learn what is everybody doing, and what is everybody thankful for and happy for, and be able to learn that and build those relationships. So I think that's so important, is to be able to understand that just because you're drifting away doesn't mean you have to lose that person. Just
Yeah, I
because they
think
moved away, just because your relationship isn't what it used to be, it doesn't mean you don't have one. And it doesn't mean you can't stay connected and come together and enjoy those moments.
mhm.
In reality, you just need to cherish the time that you do get together.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the hardest things after leaving college. My college friends, our group, our high school, like childhood friends. As you get into your career, your job, like that's really becomes your life, especially when you're younger. You want to succeed, you want to, make a lot of money, you want to do all those things. And one of the things that suffer is, connection with your old friends, especially when you don't have time, when you look up, it's 10 at night and you got to go to bed, right? And you just don't feel like you have the time. And I just felt like I didn't do my part reaching out to you guys or different people. And I feel like that was just always on me. And I just had a tough time struggling with that. And the way you put it, I think that's very good. Just because, we don't talk to each other every day or monthly, we're still able to connect just like we were back in the old days when we get together and we're able to have a good time just like that. So I don't know. I just always felt like I could always do a better job communicating with you guys, whether it's creating a group chat and saying, "Hey, hope you guys have a good day" or something like along those lines. I just felt like I just had a tough time just kind of getting that concept. Is everyone has their own life, and it's not no one's fault. It's just they're just trying to do the best they can and trying to connect. So
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I felt the same way you have. Of maybe you don't get back to that text until the next day, and you're like,
yeah,
man, like I probably could have responded to this, but I had this going on and that going on, or
yeah,
maybe you guys don't connect for a few weeks or maybe even a few months.
yeah,
But I believe that we our group, I'll speak for, had a good foundation, and true friends, no matter who you are out there, should be able to understand that maybe you have something going on. And if you're not responding, it's not because you don't care anymore. It's not because you're not there for them.
yeah,
Maybe you're just, caught up to your head and work and stress and, real life situations.
mhm,
Or maybe you just, needed time to yourself, and being able to, as yourself, understand that. So instead of feeling like, I could have been a better friend, also putting yourself in their situation, being like, okay, well, I get why maybe they aren't getting back to me. I understand that they have things going on because I have things going on. And like you said, being able to come back together and pick up right where you left off is, important. Being able to pick up the phone and talk to them,
yeah,
kind of as we're doing today, and be able to reconnect, and
yeah.
that goes a far way.
Yeah, and I don't want to take too much of your time because I know you got some things you're going on with your wife for the Fourth of July weekend. So, any best summary of the podcast? What do you think about the podcast? I'm really happy that you came on. It's like another excuse for me to talk to you and just for us to catch up. But how did you feel like the podcast went, and what was your expectations going in?
I didn't have a ton of expectations. I think you'll probably even admit I was a little underprepared what we wanted to talk about, but I was confident that we'd be able to get it done. And I was excited that you asked me to be a part of this journey. I've listened to the other episodes that you've put out, and I think that the content is incredible, and the stories that you be able to capture from everybody has just been impactful. So I will say, keep it up, and thanks for having me. And I'm proud of you, and I'm excited to see who else you get on here, and be able to watch your journey as well, man.
I appreciate that. I gotta say, there's the other podcast has been a lot about life and just kind of we're all just trying to do our best and survive in this life. But in this one, I really feel like you shared a lot of great advice, especially coming from that sales and marketing background, getting a lot of no's, the life struggles of it. It all correlates with one another. So I feel like you were able to really share good advice, profound advice with the podcasting, starting with warm leads, especially for those folks in the sales world. That I think that can go a long way in terms of amping up their sales, having a better attitude at the negotiating table, how you negotiate at work and then at home, all those different things. I think you shared a lot of great advice and brought a lot of content. So I thank you. But that is it for everyone. It was a great podcast, and I thank everyone for listening. I'll see you next time.